And on making a video talking about the whole Helldivers 2 Sony situation, and I'll probably make that video tomorrow because I still have some thoughts on that. I still have a couple things that I opinions that differ a little bit from what I've been hearing online from other people, so I do want to get that out there. But anyways, I felt like I had to talk about this news today. Microsoft has closed four studios that I guess they purchased. They were all under the umbrella of Bethesda when they purchased them. They closed Arkane Austin. Most notably for them, made Redfall, but had also worked on Prey. I believe had done some work on the Dishonored series before that. They closed Tango Gameworks, which for them had made Hi-Fi Rush, but also had the Evil Within series under their belt, as well as Alpha Dog Games. I'm not going to say they apparently they made a mobile Doom game. It's my first time hearing of it, so I guess that you can say about that what you will. Roundhouse Studios, I don't even know what they did. And I guess the only silver lining on any of this news is apparently Roundhouse Studios will be absorbed by Zenimax Online Studios, who makes the Elder Scrolls Online. So the least consequential of these studios, at least arguably the least consequential, will get reassigned as opposed to pink slips. So that's good. Today, Arkane Austin put out the statement on Twitter. Today it was announced that Arkane Austin will close. The development will not continue on Redfall. Everyone that has supported the work from Austin Studio over the years, thank you. Thank you for spending time in our worlds and making them your own. Arcane Lion will continue their focus on immersive experiences where they are hard at work on their upcoming project. Redfall players who purchase the Hero Pass as part of the Premium Biteback Edition or the Premium Biteback Upgrade will be eligible to receive the value of the upgrade. I'm assuming they mean a refund there. And while there will be no further updates, Redfall servers will remain online for players to enjoy. Which would be great news if Redfall had an offline mode. You know, yes, it's not dying now. Its servers are staying online. It has less than 100 people playing it. Those servers will not remain up forever. One day they will close, and and unfortunately, that means Redfall, as things stand right now on its current trajectory, unless Microsoft hands it off to somebody and says make an online mode for this so that it can be preserved, unless that happens, one day Redfall will die with its servers. That is an inevitability of the current situation. So I just want to reiterate, never, ever, ever purchase a game that has a single player campaign that requires you to be online to play it. I think you can look at Suicide Squad. Now, they've said that will get an offline mode at some point, but if it does not have an offline mode at launch, do not purchase it. Do not purchase it until that offline mode is added, because this type of thing can happen. You can buy a game and that game's days are now numbered. It is not a product that you will keep forever, because of one of these days, it will not be a product. Anyways, that's my rant about Redfall. I did play and beat Redfall. I was morbidly curious, so I got a month of PC Game Pass and checked it out, and I think really that is that sort of tells the tale of all of these of Xbox's situation with Game Pass, and that I can buy and pay $10 and play this entire game that they spent God only knows what developing, and get rid of it. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Redfall was, worth $70. I think that probably should have released as a budget title, or else the responsible thing would have been to take that whole mess, put it on hold, bump it back, and make it into something that would be marketable. But they just kind of shoved it out there, and what happened was about what you would expect to happen. Now, I think Bethesda is responsible for a lot of decisions in that game, but Microsoft never stepped in and never evaluated whether those decisions would lead to a good product. And I think if you look at Xbox's management style, they are way too hands-off, particularly the fact that they have over 30 studios now, or at least I don't know how many they have left after closing these four. But they have a butt ton of studios, and they've not proved themselves capable of managing the 8 studios that they had during the Xbox One era. I think Tango Gameworks We were told Hi-Fi Rush was a success for them. Well, apparently, whatever metric you were using to evaluate as a success was not a financial one. Because if it was a financial success, they wouldn't be getting the axe today. But then I remember Phil talking about Tango Gameworks and how, well, we wanted to give them the freedom to do what they wanted. We could have just have them make another Evil Within. Well, here's the thing, Phil. You kind of know what you're going to get out of an Evil Within, so you know how to budget it and you know what to expect. You make a completely new IP from a studio you just paid hard money for, and you allow them to work on an unproven IP. And while it reviewed well, it was considered a darling, it was considered, one of your success stories. Well, now it's not a success story anymore. Now it is a game that you put on PlayStation less than a month ago and is already 33% off. Okay, so clearly this game never sold squat for you, and you were trying to save face by saying the game was a success for you, but clearly you were lying. Like, there's no other way to look at the situation and come to any other conclusion, is you were clearly lying about what Hi-Fi Rush did for you guys. And unfortunately, I think this is the problem with buying whole publishers and putting them on Game Pass. We don't know if Game Pass is viable. They say that it's profitable, but they don't include the overhead for the first-party studios in that assessment. And considering, at least on their own platform, a large portion of those game sales was cannibalized or will be cannibalized by Game Pass subscriptions, I think you're obligated to take some of that overhead and put it on Game Pass. Probably a lion's share of that overhead and put it on Game Pass. And then I question if that service is still profitable if you were to actually calculate it in a way that is honest. That is honest, because what they're doing now is not honest in how they're going about this. Unfortunately, I think that's the reality of this situation. Whole publisher acquisitions are problematic enough, particularly when you have not proven yourself skilled enough to handle the studios that were already under your umbrella. Now you have a massive amount of studios. You are hands off with all of them. You are funding their development costs, then taking their product and shoving it onto Game Pass, where the lion's share of people are going to be playing it. You're not getting back the money on it that you should be getting unless those people maintain a Game Pass subscription for, a year or a long time, basically. Unless it's an ongoing subscription, you're not getting the money back from those titles. And a lot of people like me were just like, no, screw it. You don't produce quality anyways. So whenever you put out a game, I'll just buy a month of Game Pass, play it, because it'll probably not be that good anyways. I think the one game that you've put out that I've purchased is Starfield, and I regret that purchase. I thought when Starfield came out that, okay, Fallout 76 was a one-off. This may not be, the most top quality Bethesda title ever, but it'll probably be roughly Fallout 4 level quality is what I was hoping for. And then I look at that game, and because you're that hands off, nobody and that nobody within that studio will ever check Todd Howard, and somebody should have checked him and said, hey, we're not known for procedural content. Perhaps a game where we have 1,000 procedural planets is not going to have the same magic or same gameplay loop that the rest of our games have. Perhaps a game that has loading screens in it because it's producing worlds far larger than our engine is capable of handling is not going to be a great experience for the user. Nobody ever checked them. Look at Starfield. Starfield is, while the majority of development probably didn't happen under Microsoft, Microsoft did nothing at all to address the problems with that game, to address the things about that game that make it not fun. I will say this is very sad. I am surprised about bits of it, but I am not surprised by the general news whatsoever. We already look at, they've just absorbed, this is Bethesda, which is about 10% the size of what Activision is. They just absorbed Activision. There will eventually be a bloodbath when studios for Activision in a few years are shut down that will make today look mild by comparison. And this is the trajectory of Xbox. I have my issues with Sony. I think they generally make good first-party games. They make good games where they work with third-party publishers. I have my issues. I have my issues with how they handled Naughty Dog during this generation, granted. but they've proven to me that they can produce quality products that are worth my money. You have proven to me that you can produce products that are worth me having a month of PC Game Pass. And if something doesn't change, I don't think this current trajectory for either Xbox or for Game Pass is sustainable. And something's got to change, because closing studios is not going to fix this problem. It might make it a little less worse than it was before because you're reducing the overhead, but I just don't. The math doesn't math. It boils down to it, and Phil can say whatever he wants to say. I can't trust any of it now, because now he's proven that he's lying. So unfortunately, that's where it is. It is not a good situation over at Xbox, and something needs to happen. And there's studios that Xbox still owns that I enjoy. Like, I am very concerned for what's going to happen to Obsidian if Avowed doesn't sell well. You know, I don't understand under this business model who's going to survive it, because the overhead is out of control. And Game Pass subscriptions, they've said, what, 34 million was the number they put out there. But even that math is fuzzy, because they were giving us numbers all the way up to 25 million. Then they went on like a 1.5 to 2 year hiatus where they didn't tell us anything. And then we had this news that they were starting to go third party, which, by the way, I think you've just begun to see the beginning of that, because I think the reality of this business model will force them to take a lot more of their catalog and put it onto PlayStation. But we look at, I lost my train of thought. You'll have to forgive me. I don't understand how this is going to work out long term, because they've absorbed almost 100 billion in publishers / developers. Just to give you an idea, the market capitalization, I believe, of Nintendo is around $70 billion. They've got $100 billion, not just in their first party that they had, no, just in what they've acquired over the past few years. And they have the smallest install base. Now, I do realize they can sell on PC and everything, but like, I just don't understand. I don't understand how this is going to work. I don't understand how this isn't, unfortunately, one of the first dominoes to fall, because there will inevitably be others. Anyways, it's sad, but what are you going to do? It's the way the business is going. Anyways, that's it for this one, guys. I'll try to catch you tomorrow with my take on that Sony video. Anyways, until then, guys, get awesome.